Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this. Now that you've been through a couple, 2, 3 weeks of camp, who are your top two running backs that you got going right now?
Uh, well, I would say, based off of, I think 15 or 16 practices we've had in so far, I would say Kevin Harris, has, probably been the most consistent running back. And then behind that, Deshaun and Amos have been, had their days, and hopefully we can see some of Saquandre this tomorrow on Saturday. He's been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring issue. He'll get out there tomorrow and get to see him some. So I'd say it's still, a battle to say there's two. Kevin has been the most consistent. Looking for, some other guys to be a little bit more consistent. But, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a running back by committee this year.
Ben Brenner.
Hey, Mike. After another week of practice, do you feel like there's any more separation with your quarterbacks, or is that still up in the air going to last scrimmage?
No, I think all the guys have been practicing well. There's been improvement with the guys. Looking for consistency at that position as well. We've got to be able to execute offensively. I think I've said this on here before. I'm not looking for a game manager. I'm just looking for somebody to do the job on a consistent basis, hit their targets, go to the right place, set the protection right, get us in the right run. And both have had their days, and been pleased with what both are doing. We've had our fair share of explosive plays, and they're not because we're calling plays to be explosive. It's because of executing within the offense that has caused the explosive plays. But there's I would say there's separation that's happening. There's separation that happens day to day. Not necessarily it's one guy consistently being the guy that's separating, but I got a good idea of how things are going and how things are playing, and looking forward to seeing them play again tomorrow night.
Colin Taylor.
Yeah, Mike, I guess with Jalen Brooks, his waiver situation still kind of up in the air. How do you balance getting him reps as if he's going to play, and then potentially getting other guys reps as his waiver still kind of hangs up in the air?
That's a good question. I think that question is probably more pertinent next week when we start game planning for Tennessee, if we haven't heard by then. Right now we're still in camp mode, and he's playing and he's getting a lot of reps, and there's been some days we've got our full stable of receivers, and then some days guys are out, and so he's got to practice every single day, because if we're limiting his reps in practice 13, 14, 15, we're hurting other guys because they're having to take too many. So I'm glad he's out there. He's showing he's improving every day. He's starting to get his legs back. He's been a guy that hasn't missed practice one time. So he's a little bit sore. He's a little bit beat up, but I give him credit. He's out there every day. He's starting to, I think, fight through some of those nagging injuries, and I think he's gotten better because of it. As far as, how we rep him in practice, when we start on Tennessee next week, we'll have sit down and have a conversation with Coach leading into next week on, when we might expect an answer, how much do we rep him. But right now, he's going to rep like he's playing, because he is playing tomorrow in tomorrow's scrimmage at noon.
Ben?
In your guys' offensive scheme, what are the two tight end sets that you guys use? What do they allow you to do differently offensively?
Well, I think when you're in a two tight end set and you have the ability to run the ball in the two tight end set, it keeps them in regular personnel on defense, and they're not coming in the game in nickel, and our defense has played a lot of dime as well. We're not seeing a lot of that stuff unless it's third and long and they're going to play, primarily pass. But if we come out in 11 personnel or 10 personnel on first, second down, we're going to get nickel or dime. If we come out in 12 personnel, we're not going to get nickel or dime. So it allows you to kind of dictate what they're going to be in as far as personnel on defense, and create some mismatches sometimes when you got athletic tight ends on linebackers or sometimes safeties. And I've said this since day one. We're trying to figure out what's our best personnel groups, who gives us the best advantage to be competitive on the field. And the tight ends have done a nice job. We need more consistency at that position. Overall, we'll have really good days, and then some days, we don't have the best of days. But I told those guys yesterday we're going to have a chance to be pretty good on offense. I think that group has to be the difference for us. So they've accepted the challenge. They're working hard to challenge. Coach Bobby Bentley's doing a great job pushing them and putting them in position where we can be successful. And, some guys have got to step up that quite frankly have not played a lot of snaps. Nick, I believe, is the only guy that's played a lot of snaps for us at tight end. And then his season was shortened last year because of the ACL, and he's still coming off of that. So, we got some young guys at that position that are going to have to step up.
David?
We've heard, Coach Muschamp, some of the players, even some opposing coaches say what they are or describe how your offense is going to look. Are there a couple of buzzwords how you think your offense is going to look or how you hope your offense is going to look?
Well, I hope we don't turn it over. I hope we got more points than the other team, whether it's 7 or need 47. I really don't care. Best chance to be successful is not turning the ball over and taking care of the ball. Everybody that touches that ball on game day, but I want to be a physical football team. I want to play physical, and sometimes when you hear that word, you think about, that means, ground and pound, but you can be physical in how you attack teams. And then, we talk about toughness all the time offensively, and not just physical toughness, but mental toughness. Being able to continue to do the right thing throughout a tough practice. When it's 100 degrees out there and this humidity here in Columbia, it's probably the hottest place I've ever been, and I grew up in South Georgia. I mean, it's extremely hot and humid here, and I think that's an advantage for us. It's something we talk about. We got to be able to push through. Hell, everybody's tired out there, but how tough are we going to be mentally? So, physical and mental toughness is something that I want us to be. Schematically, I think that's going to be dictated on, our personnel that's available that week. Who we're playing, and I think that's going to change a lot this year because of what we're dealing with guys that could test positive for the COVID, and then who have they been in contact with, who might be out that week. So we're going to have to, you're going to have to adapt more as a coach than you ever have. You've always had to adapt because of injuries, but now with this, I think schematically stuff can change week to week of what you can do. So I think it's good that we've had, all these practices and walkthroughs. We've been able to introduce a lot of stuff to these guys, and hopefully we'll be able to pull enough together each week and, piece some stuff together on who we got available, ready to go, because, it's going to change week to week. It's changing this Saturday based off last Saturday, who's available in the scrimmage for us offensively. And, we're in their meeting right now trying to decide what we're going to do and put people where. And I think it's good practice for us as coaches, and it's good practice for these players to realize that you got to be ready to go on any given moment's notice.
Colin?
Yeah, Mike, I guess kind of off topic a little bit, but you came in obviously in December, January, and you got taken off the road recruiting. I'm wondering how that's gone for you. What's it like recruiting during a pandemic when you're not able to get out and see guys at a new school?
It's tough. We've watched a ton of film on a ton of guys, not just 2021, but 2022. But a lot of recruiting is not. There's a lot of guys when you turn on that film, you believe can help you talent-wise, but it's going there to find out the factors that are going to help contribute to help your football team. For them to be a good player, they got to have the intangibles. They got to love football. What's their makeup on and off the field. So there's a lot of things that you're doing by phone. And then, it's something about going to see a guy too. He might be, this guy's supposed to be 6'3", 250 pounds, and get there, he's 6'1 and a half, and, he's only 230, or this guy, he's not listed as this big, but he's actually got really long arms, and you see these guys in person. So I think, the key for us is obviously we're going to evaluate, we're going to communicate with these guys, and, we're making decisions. But, at the same time, you got to make sure, you cross all your T's and dot all your I's with the legwork that you got to do on the phone. So it's tough, I've always said recruiting sometimes going out in the spring is, actually marking guys off the list. And a lot of it nowadays is not finding out about new players because everybody knows about every player because, they're, readily available. You pick up your phone or your iPad and you type in their name, or, if a kid's going somewhere, he tweets it all out. So there's no secrets, who's this guy that just went to this school? Let's find out about him. So you know who the guys are. It's going to see them in live and see them on the hoof and see them play, see them practice, how they respond to coaching. And a lot of times when you do that as a coach, it's, you find guys, but a lot of it's taking guys off the list. Like, this guy's not a fit for us here at South Carolina, and I think that's something that's missing. And I think you're going to see a lot of mistakes here, in the next year or so. I ain't talking about South Carolina. I'm just talking about in general, because people are making decisions without putting their eyes on people.
Ben Brenner.
I know you haven't had Eric Shaw for the majority of this camp, but how have you guys been kind of using him? Are you getting him some work attached to the formation, or is he mostly working kind of split out?
No, he's been attached to the formation. His ass is a little smaller than those other guys when he's down there in a 3-point stance. But it's good. I think this might be practice 5, being the scrimmage for him back. I know it's just this week. He did get in last week and catch a catch in the scrimmage. But I like Eric. I like everything about him. He likes ball. He's not afraid to put his face in there on contact. He uses his low. He's 208-209 pounds right now, maybe a little bit bigger. But he can come out of his hips. He can explode. I told Coach Bentley the other day, he reminds me of Randy McMichael, who, when I was a graduate assistant and coached the tight ends, had him at Georgia when he was young. He came in at about 205 to 210 pounds, but he would strike you, he'd put his face on you, and he could come out of his hips, which generates power. And this kid reminds me of that. Now, he's lost right now with the time that he's missed, but he's a guy that we got to, what's he going to look like in 5 weeks from now? We got to realize that, and we got to continue to work him and get him to a point where we feel like he can help us. And where's he going to be in 2 weeks? It's going to be a big difference from where he was in this week. So, but I like his skill set, and I like what he does, and I like his demeanor.
David?
Right now, Mike, offensively, are you guys missing any starters because of COVID?
I'm not going to answer that question. You're probably trying to trick me. I don't know how Coach has been answering that question, so I'm going to say I can't answer that question.
Colin?
Are you getting closer to kind of figuring out your best 5 up front on the offensive line?
I think we're close there. There's a competition for, trying to figure out who that second and third tackle is, and Jazz has done a nice job at times. He's got to be more consistent. 52, kid from Charlotte. I'm drawing a blank on Jalen Nichols. Drawing a blank on his name, but Jalen Nichols has done a nice job at times. And then the freshman Lee, 77 for us, has, he's probably not physically where he needs to be for SEC lineman as far as strength, but as far as knowledge and footwork and doing what he's coached to do. Really impressed with him. So there's a competition there. That's one of the places on our offensive football team that stayed relatively healthy, and guys have been able to practice throughout camp. So there's been constant competition, and we played with different people at different places up front, different combinations, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. You always hear probably guys have been doing this a long time. We're looking for our 5. We're looking for the best 5. We're going to put them where they've, and that's true. But you'd like to have more than 5, and hopefully we can feel good about, 6, 7, maybe 8 guys and have a rotation and keep guys fresh. And I think, that's good for team morale, and I think it's going to create competition throughout the year. So I'm excited about that group. We got to clean up some things, and we're still making some mistakes here or there that we got to fix, and it's not necessarily them. Sometimes it's the quarterback not directing them the right way. But I'm not as stressed out as I would be if it was a game week, because there's a lot still in offensively as we hone down for each game specifically. I think we'll feel good about who's going to play and what we're doing. And if they can't handle a game plan, then they might not be able to get out there up front. But I like a number of guys. We're close, but I think there's close to, maybe 8 guys that are going to possibly help us this year.
John Whittle. Oh, go ahead, Con.
Would Justin kind of be your starting left tackle right now if the season started this Saturday?
I don't. The season doesn't start this Saturday, so I can't. I'm not going to tell you who's starting Saturday. You could watch it on Saturday. Oh, y'all can't come, so that's why it's a secret. So y'all try to slip them in there, just so I'll say it. Did Coach tell y'all who the left tackle was when y'all asked him? No, so you're trying to get me to say it.
Let's go to John Whittle.
How is Dakereon Joyner done? Do you envision using him in some different ways in your offense? And can he play both inside or outside receiver positions?
I'm not going to say where he can play because that kind of gives an advantage to our first opponent, whether he's an inside or outside receiver. Dakereon is a guy that has played quarterback his whole life. Played some receiver last year, but had to come back to quarterback. He needs practice time, and only having 5 days of spring practice hurt his development a little bit. He's been in and out because of injury this camp, which has hurt his development. But he's been back this week and saw some things that I like there. He's just got to continue to improve, and and all these kids, not just to carry on. You always got to be. We always want that instant success. We're going to walk in the door, we're going to be an All-American, win the Heisman, we're going to leave after 3 years, but there's a process to becoming good. And I think if he sticks with the process of continuing to work and improve his craft of being a receiver, he's got a chance to help us, on offense here at South Carolina, a chance to be a good player. He's still in the process of learning how to be that. But I do like his demeanor. I like his toughness. It's just learning the finer points of being a receiver.
Maybe not even taking Dakereon into consideration with this question, but just in general, how quickly do you think most skilled position players can come in and make an impact? You talk about them, not necessarily being an All-American right away, but what's kind of the process of getting them to that point where they can be valuable contributors?
I've always thought this, and it's not always 100% true because each year's different and each player is a little bit different, their mentality, their makeup, how much can they handle mentally, how much can they handle the mental rigors of going to school and practice. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but just, take all that away and skill set. I've always thought running back was the easiest to play as a freshman, because you're doing something you've done your whole life, whether you're in a wishbone, a wing tee, a pro eye, a spread, you're carrying the football. And you're running, receivers would probably be second, and there is, an art of playing receiver and learning that position, but you can do things with different receivers to put them in position to get touches and have a chance to do what they do best with the skill position. They might not be a great route runner. They might not understand coverage yet, but there's things you can do with them. And then, the other 3 positions, offensive line, I think they've got to know a lot nowadays. You got to be physically strong. It's one thing, to be smart, but, it takes time to be able to match up physically in this league. And then, it's tough to play as a freshman, as a quarterback. And it's tough to play early as a tight end. What we ask our tight ends to do in a run and pass game is tough. But, the quickest would be running back, and then next would be receiver. But it's all about getting their confidence. It's all about putting guys out there. You might have a freshman in any position that you think has the talent to play and be successful and help you win. So you want to put them out there in a position where they're going to have success. You don't want to put a guy out there if he's not ready, because you can kill a young man's confidence at any position. So might be a young freshman that does some things well that, really is, electric. He's got some speed, he's got some playmaking ability, but he doesn't understand, quite frankly, what we're doing. Then as a coach, you got to do a good job of finding ways to get him in the game and get him exposed. And when he goes out there, he's going to do something that he understands, where he can play fast and he has confidence. If you put a confused player out there, it doesn't matter his ability, he's not going to play well. And that's our job as coaches to put them in a position where they understand what they're doing on Saturday, where they can go out there and play fast. There's a million different ways to scheme somebody offensively, but what your players understand, not what you understand as a coach. What do they understand, and how can they play fast? Because if there's doubt, then we're not going to have a chance to be successful. So, that's what we've been doing all camp. That's what we'll do when we start game planning after this last scrimmage for Tennessee. There's a lot of things that I think can work, against Tennessee and our opponents that we're going to play. But what can our players do? We're not playing, the video game where, hey, we got the perfect play call against the perfect defense. It's all about what your players can do and what they feel comfortable doing.
Ben?
Last week you had kind of mentioned you wanted to see a little bit more from Shai in terms of consistency. This week, did you kind of get what you wanted on that front?
Yeah, I did. Shai was, I think, player of the day twice for us this week. He definitely has the playmaking ability to, be a difference maker for this offense and in this league. I think we've all seen spurts of that if you go back and watch previous games that he's played in big-time environments. And he's one of the few guys offensively that, has played and done well in games that has confidence. He's confident in his ability. I had talked with Shai either this morning, I believe, about being consistent and being that guy. And that, we always talk about, having trust in the player that you play with, but it's also trust between player and coach and player. I'm working through this. There's not a lot of, these guys don't know me yet. I've been here, but we haven't been around them. There was from March until July, we didn't get around them, and so we're trying to get through all that, and there's a trust factor that you've got to build. Yes, I'm gonna be hard. Yes, I'm gonna be demanding. But they also got to know that you care about them. You're going to put them in the best position to be successful. And I think Shai is one of those guys that we can put in a position to be successful. Now, saying all that, he didn't practice yesterday. He was out, and so we got to get him out there. And for him to be a consistent player, I think he has to practice. This isn't like basketball. We can go out there and get out of the way and give a guy a ball, and he can do what he wants to do. This is football where all 11 got to be tied together. So we got to get him out there to practice for us to put him in a position to be successful.
David?
First, Mike, do you expect Shai to be able to scrimmage tomorrow?
We got a staff meeting here at 4, so I'm not sure yet. I think my understanding he was, but whatever said, and that staff will go from there, and we'll make adjustments if he goes or he doesn't go.
And second, during your time as just building offenses and becoming a coordinator, is there one coach or play caller that you've tried to emulate that has inspired you to do what you do?
No, I think, to be honest, there's a lot of guys that we all steal from other guys. We all there's certain things that you take from other coaches. When you watch film and you see things that you like that maybe fits what you're trying to do or how they're attacking something, but. I had a good fortune. Greg Davis was Steve Ensminger was my first coach in college, who's now the offensive coordinator at LSU, and was really big on fundamentals, your feet in the right place, your eyes in the right place, knowing your progressions, knowing where you went, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it was really, really good for me as a young player. And then Greg Davis, who came in, was our offensive coordinator, He kind of taught me protections, made me understand protections as a quarterback, which I had no idea. In high school or in my first year in college, I didn't really understand protections and really coached it in a way that made it simple. And I always took from that how simple he made everything, even though we were doing some things that were a little bit complex. And then having a chance to work for, Mark Rick all those years, a coordinator, a quarterback coach, and did a lot of things offensively. But he was kind of what I was talking about earlier. He always wanted to put his quarterback out there with a chance to be successful. He never wanted to rush that guy, and because that's one of the positions that probably you could kill confidence the fastest at quarterback. We know all of us how tough we are on quarterbacks, and he's the focal point of every game. And he's the greatest if we win, and he's why we lost. When we lose, and there's a lot on a young kid's plate, and he was never wanting to give that young kid too much. And it was always he'd tell the guy, he'd say, you're on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know right now, because if somebody this is what you need to know. And that was always good for me. So those three guys are the main guys. But I've taken from a lot of people. A lot of what we do offensively is a lot of some combinations of run game and stuff is Jimbo Fisher stuff when we hired Stacy Searles at Georgia when he came from LSU. And you're working with different line coaches. I worked with him, or Neil Callaway, or with Will Friend, who's now at Tennessee, and now working with Wolford. There's different schemes, there's different ways to do things, and you're always, I think it's good that you have all this repertoire, but what can you do offensively and what fits your players the best? So, I'm always trying to steal from other guys, but those first three, Insminger, Greg Davis, and Mark Rick are probably, the biggest influence, because I spent the most time with them in that quarterback room.
The last question goes to John Del Bianco.
Oh, I forgot about
Hey, Mike,
Donnan. I can't forget Jim Donnan. Cannot forget Coach Donnan. Okay, all right. Who was? Yeah, he was definitely a big influence. He was big on building confidence too, and getting it to the playmakers. That was what he did a great job, in my opinion, of had a system, but it was getting Champ Bailey over on offense. It was doing whatever needed to be done to make sure the playmakers touched the ball. And that kind of, I'd always been, hey, execute. We're going to execute. Ball's going to go where it's supposed to be. He was like, no, we're going to bring Champ over on offense and make sure he touches it, which I thought was extremely smart. I'm sorry, who was next?
All right, last question now to John Del Bianco.
Okay.
Is Luke Doty still getting the same volume he was earlier in camp at wide receiver, or is he?
He is not. He wasn't going into the last scrimmage and then the first part of this week. Wanted to dial. We felt like he had a really, really good base at receiver and wanted to start, getting him a lot more reps at quarterback. And again, going back to, the situation we're in here this year with anything could happen. I think he's got to be one of those, he's Swiss Army knives. He's going to have to do a lot. He's one of those guys that can play a lot of positions, for you. And knock on wood, anything could happen, in a season, especially this season. But he was back at quarterback, primarily just taking quarterback. And then yesterday we had like 3 or 4 receivers go down at the start of practice, nothing serious. And next thing I know, he jumped in there and started taking reps and made a couple plays. And it's just the kind of kid. It wasn't like, hey, Luke, I needed you to go to receiver, or Coach Cox didn't come to him. He saw we were short. He saw some of the other receivers were getting gassed. He said, all right, I'm not playing quarterback right now. This team period, I'm running in and playing receiver. I can't say enough about him. He hit a little bit of a wall about a week and a half ago, not physically, mentally, quarterback and receiver. And I just wanted to dial it back a little bit for him and try to get him in some position where, he can build some confidence at the quarterback. Kind of going back to what I was talking about, thinking about so much. And all right, we got to hone some of this down for Luke and focus on this is going to be what's going to be called for you in the game. This is what you feel comfortable with. But he's a pleaser. Last scrimmage, I gave him the call sheet, and there's a ton of crap on it. Obviously you can't call it all in the game, but you're repping 3 different quarterbacks. You're repping different personnel groups. It's kind of, you want to see a lot of things. You don't necessarily have a game plan that you're trying to attack Coach T-Rob, but I sent it to Luke the night before, and we had a big walkthrough, and I sent it to him. I said, I want you to highlight everything on this sheet that you feel 100% comfortable with. That's what I'm going to call. And, of course, the pleaser. I think everything on the sheet was highlighted but about two plays. So the next day I put him in a walkthrough, and he got about everything wrong. And I said, so you lied to me. You don't feel comfortable with everything. So he sent me one back that was highlighted with just what he felt comfortable with. And that goes back to that trust factor I was talking about. Sometimes they want to say the right thing just to please their coach, but they got to be honest and tell the truth so we can put them in the best position to be comfortable. To have success. Excuse me.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Appreciate it.